Hey TrueCore, my name's Coach Christy for anybody I haven't met. I'm a physical therapist, but I'm also a coach here, so we're going to start doing some monthly mobility videos. This month we're going to focus on the shoulder and talking about shoulder health and longevity. So just to kind of give you a little intro to the shoulder is made up of two major areas, your humerus, or your arm bone, and then your shoulder blade, your scapula. The two of those come together to make the joint. There are 6 major motions of the shoulder, so flexion, raising straight up, abduction, going out to the side, adduction, coming into your body, extension, going backwards, and then we have external rotation or internal rotation. So I'm going to kind of show you a way to screen your range of motion and see if you have any limitations in any of those directions. Anytime I think about longevity of a joint, I think range of motion first, because if you don't have the mobility there, then you're probably not doing your movement patterns properly, which is going to cause joint breakdown over time. So I'm going to have you start sitting against the wall. We're going to have a PVC pipe here for later. First movement, I want you to see if you can keep your back and your trunk against the wall and see how far you can raise your arms up. So I can go all the way to the wall without arching my back. Some people will not be able to get that far, they'll get up to here, or they'll start arching their back and coming away from the wall. So that's flexion. So that's the first direction we would work on if you have limitations. So what I would suggest if you have limitations in that area, start with your hands about hip width to shoulder width apart, and you're just gonna work on trying to raise the PVC pipe, trying to keep your back against the wall, and try to get your hands closer to the wall. The next movement we're going to do is abduction. So we're going to do what I like to call a wall angel. You're going to keep your back against the wall and try to keep your shoulder blades there and see how far up the wall you're able to go. So you can see I have a little bit of limitation in my right shoulder here. So what you would do is work on trying to get those fingers close together and try to keep your back and your shoulders against the wall as far as possible. You may not be able to get your shoulders to the wall yet, that's okay. What I want you to work on is just working towards the wall and then getting those hands overhead. Finally, we're gonna look at external and internal rotation in this position. So we're gonna try to make like a little field goal. So your elbows should be straight out from your shoulders, bent at about 90 degrees. I want you to see if you can get your hands to the wall. So you can see I'm actually a little bit limited here because I'm not getting all the way to the wall. Your goal would be to try to get to that wall here and close to the wall going internally, but this is going to be a little bit more limited. This one, if you're having limitations here, I want you to just practice coming down towards the wall in each position, trying not to hike your shoulders or your traps up here, and you're trying to keep those shoulder blades and your back against the wall the whole time. So those are your first couple things to work on. Next, we're going to kind of go to the rig and show you how to stretch your pec. So the most basic form that I like of a pec stretch you can do in your door frame at home as well. So if you had 2 areas like a door frame, you could put your arm up like a field goal. But here, we're going to do it one at a time. I want you to get your forearm here and your elbow against the rig, 90 degrees at my elbow, and get that elbow coming straight out from your shoulder. Next, what you're gonna do is step forward. Doesn't really matter which foot, but you might feel it more on one than the other. And I'm keeping my trunk up nice and tall, I'm looking forward, and I can feel that going through my pec here. You can play with this position a little bit, so you can come up higher, you can come a little bit lower, but the goal is to keep your trunk nice and tall while you're stretching so that you're stretching the right tissues and not straining your shoulder. The pec has a tendency to pull you forward a lot, so if we stretch that out, it's going to help promote a nice upright position. The last one we're going to work on is a row. So this is a very, very basic form of a row. Some people might be beyond this, some people might not be towards this yet. But what you're going to do is just really work on anchoring your shoulder blades down and pulling that resistance band back. So anchor down and pull back, squeezing between your shoulder blades like you're trying to pinch a piece of paper. So one more time, we're going down and back. Try to do about 10 repetitions at a time. This is a great one to do before you're doing especially an upper body workout as well, because it's really going to get those scapular muscles working and try to keep you in a nice position. So What I want you to think about this next month, improving your range of motion in those directions we talked about, and starting to work on really opening up those shoulders, extending that spine, and trying to get those shoulder blades well stabilized so that when you do movements like overhead movements, you have the right motion and you have the right stability to keep that motion over time. If you have any questions, just come find me in the gym.